morning, sir. I'm Joanna. Now, I would want you to share a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you do.
Hi, Joanna. It's pleasure to have me here. So thanks for inviting me to this session. So my name is Krishna Potnis. I have been in the fintech industry for more than 2.5 decades, exploring and advancing into the financial technology. Basically, the whole journey started with my deep-seated interest in the technology. And because of that technology, I did my engineering and my PG in Pune University. During this graduation and post-graduation, I had interest in the digital transformation, how I can transform the traditional businesses into the digitized format. So that was one of the interesting factor. And during the PG, during management course, I got interested into the financial technology part of it. And then after that, because of the interest, during the COVID time, especially the second lockdown, I wanted to write a book about the fintech, and then that's where I started writing my book. It took me some time to write the book, but after a year and a half, I managed to publish the book. So last year it was published.
Yes, having gone through the book, I think it's like the perfect starter for anybody to read, I think. Since I'm not very well versed in the world of fintech, but still I was able to get a lot of knowledge because I saw there's a sequence. It's like a story. You brought in the past, how it was in the past, moving into how it is in the modern day. So it's a very well written and very easy understandable book, I must say. Okay, so since you're into the world of fintech, how would you describe fintech in a single sentence? What would be your definition of it?
Different is the technology used to enhance, automate, innovate, and optimize financial processes and services for businesses as well as everyday consumers. So this is a single line of definition you can say of.
As you had said, you have a BTech, a technology background. So could you please elaborate, especially for the students who are interested into getting into fintech? What is the role of technology in fintech, and how would BTech degrees or what we're studying apply in the real world application?
Yeah, technology is very pivotal for any industry, and especially more for fintech, because as you can see, tech is one of the rare industries which is kind of getting into an upward trajectory globally. This is not specifically for India. Globally, it is taking an upward trajectory. In early days, the technology was very rudimentary and it was limited to a back-end processing of the banks. The period of time, as the technology improved, like communication technology, be it telephone lines, then network, internet, basically coming of internet brings up a lot of connectivity, and that connectivity was used during the financial technology evolution as well. Then mobile technology. After that, when the cloud came into picture, all these SaaS products came into picture, all these cloud providers, including the AWS and the Azures and the GCP came into picture. So with that, the path of developing new financial technology or fintech products become faster and efficient. So these are important milestones. So that's why technology is very important. So as I said, cloud computing, and in the recent world we have AI. AI is taking a lot of responsibility of finding the frauds globally. AI, machine learning, these are critical for upcoming fintech solutions. Blockchain, although limited to a bit as far as everybody is concerned, but blockchain is revolutionizing banking. So many banks globally have started adopting blockchain is something that is a very important technology. As far as students are concerned, they need to start understanding what this technology is, how this technology can be used for providing the day-to-day services, for optimizing and automating the day-to-day services.
So you're talking about day-to-day services. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what are the real world applications of fintech and where we see them?
It doesn't matter what age you are, what is your background. Today, everybody is using it. So right from digital payments, right from insurance payment, every area of your life, everybody's life is governed, managed by fintech solution. Take example of in India. In last 2 years of UPI, everybody is using the UPI QR code payments all across India. Similar systems are being developed in other countries as well. So similar to UPI, there is another technology called Pix in Brazil, which is pretty much the same technology. Slightly different technology stack, but it is the same usage using QR code payment. So this is touches everybody, because digital payments, you cannot not use UPI payment today in India.
After COVID, I think that phase,
Yes.
we've been very dependent on digital payments.
Yeah, so that is one. Secondly, you have online e-commerce. It is hard to find people who are not buying on e-commerce sites. Even for movies, shows, everything is available through technology, tech solutions. Similarly, if you are taking an insurance, be it a health insurance, be it a vehicle insurance, any insurance, it's available online. So these are all fintech solutions that you are having.
Okay, so as you know, most of our viewers would be students who are interested into going into the field of fintech. And you had mentioned earlier that fintech is one of the fastest growing economies world over, not just in India. Would you advise students to use this to their advantage?
Basically, there are advantages of using tech, as I said, for everyday life. From students' perspective, there are a few aspects that one needs to be very focused on. So, how this lending platform works. Now, education is available across the world, and you need to have education loans. So, even those educational loans are available through some of the new age fintech platforms with a minimum amount of document, with minimum amount of check, because all the ecosystem behind the scene is so connected that you don't need to do too much paperwork, and you don't have to wait for long to get that student loans approved. So that is something that is important, that student need to understand and know these kind of platforms. There are platforms available like EduVans, there are platforms available. Also there are financial aids available. One of the main thing now, students need to understand how to budget, and there are even applications where you can have split payments when you are eating out, you are
Yeah,
traveling.
there are.
So students like yourself have built such kind of solutions as well, because when they see a problem, they can find out how I can solve this using the technology.
Okay, so since you're been like you have a lot of experience in this field, 2 decades, like you mentioned, I'm sure that many students, especially those doing BTech and technology related courses, they would be interested in getting into fintech. So, what is some advice you would give for those students?
So there are
Yeah,
technological skills that you can build, like we talked about the AI ML part of, with
yeah.
specific models. So there people are building their own private models using AI models like Llama, whereby financial frauds can be detected early. So there is a technological skill that student needs. So if those are part of the curriculum, that's well and good. Otherwise, student need to explore where I can find that technological skill. And there are courses available online nowadays. Many are free of cost. So that is one aspect. Again, based on the interest, if person is technologically inclined, like BTech people, then they should be able to look into those technology, ML, blockchain. So these are important technology. But at the same time, there is a need to make sure that they learn the basics of the technology, be it a C++, Java, which are critical for print processing.
Okay.
So all these technologies, as a part of BTech, you need to learn. So that is a technological aspect. One of the other problems, I wouldn't say problem, but the education is structured nowadays, is if it is a technology, then finance is not taught. As you said, it's not focused on fintech,
Yeah.
but even finance is not
Yeah.
taught as such. Yeah, so I have seen over the period of years that people really struggle to understand what is credit, what is debit, what is the statement, how to read a bank statement. So these are some basic things, and not all universities are teaching this to technology students. And some of this knowledge are very, very important to understand and get into the fintech as a domain. Because I experienced myself being an engineering background, it took me some time to understand debit and processing the payment gateway. It took me some time. But if you are really interested, you need to understand some finance part of it.
Yeah, that's very applicable, I feel. A very good piece of advice. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the new age technologies that work with fintech? You've seen fintech over the past 20 years. Definitely, it's not what's used today. So, how has this evolution happened? And can you just elaborate a bit about like the AI and blockchain in fintech?
So one of the new technologies is the smartphone technology, smartphone evaluation. So a smartphone evolution makes you access all the fintech platforms from your mobile phone. So this is very, very specific need and skill that student need to be aware of. So mobile application development and connecting to the APIs behind the scene is one of the key of modern age. So you must have heard of some of the new systems like Walnut or Jupyter. These are some of the new age banking applications, and these are built on the mobile. These are mobile only applications, many of these. that is something that skill is very important. Writing mobile application, understanding the API behind the scene, and connecting to the process the transaction. So that is one part. Secondly, on the blue. So now we talked about the insurance. So blockchain has been extensively adopted by insurance industry. So whenever any unforeseen incident occurs, insurance come into picture, and then there are specific entities can add and update specific part of the record.
Could you talk a little bit about how secure it is, and how like security of transactions, and maybe even touch on cyber security, because I think there is an intersection between cyber security and fintech. So
Yes.
could you talk a bit about that?
So security as a whole, as you know, is very important from humanity perspective. So that's why we have compound walls. So like that, we have in a digital world, we have all the security measures available. So equivalent to compound wall, there is a firewall. Restrict the access of unauthorized users to get into the secure zone. This is a very rudimentary example. But as far as the security or cyber security, as you mentioned, whatever data available on the internet can be accessible by people who don't need to access that data, and that data has a value. Every data has a value, so we need to make sure we secure that data. So there the cryptography come into picture. So cyber security marries with cryptography. So cryptography is algorithms to encrypt the data on internet. So you cannot have any data floating around, and you have the encryption for that data. The decryption or the availability of that data is only possible if you have the right access to that data, and then the data is decrypted on the fly. So that is a part of cyber security. So I'll give you an example for the transaction processing. So this is a digital payment, very close to my heart. Whenever a digital payment is done, you swipe the card or you put the card into the machine. You enter the PIN. Now taking that example, when you enter the PIN, who knows the PIN? Your bank.
Yeah, the bank and the user.
So the bank and the user. Now if you go to a shop, you are using an ICICI Bank's terminal, but your bank is SBI. Your credit card is from SBI. Does SBI, ICICI knows your PIN number? No. Does your merchant need to know your PIN number?
No.
So when you enter your PIN, because of the advancement in the technology, the PIN is encrypted at the point of entering, and then the PIN is from the terminal, from the payment terminal, POS terminal to ICICI to the card issuer, meaning your bank, State Bank of India, and State Bank of India sees that there is some encrypted data here, I see, and then it knows, only SBI knows how to decrypt this data. Then it decrypts, and then after decrypting that data, it verifies that this is Joanna's PIN, and it is correct. So if it is correct, then only it says, okay, transaction successful. If not, it rejects the card. So this is a simple example, and same thing happens in the case of
Now, as we're moving towards the end of the podcast, I would like to ask you a few questions centric towards students. So what is a one specific skill or one thing that is really important for any student who's looking to pursue a career in finance, in fintech specifically?
Yeah, start understanding the financial, whatever transaction it is, whatever you are doing, whether you are buying a stock, buying a mutual fund, you try to understand what are you doing. You don't need to understand how the stock market works or how the mutual fund houses work. You need to understand what you are doing. So simple example, as we were talking, Zerodha, if you want to buy a stock, you need to understand the stock, why I am buying that stock. So student may not need to understand all this, but what information I need to understand before I buy a certain stock. That study is very important. So studying financial systems or financial transactions is the most important thing students should do. And everybody would have their own aspect. They not need to understand the technology behind it. They may be users of it. They may be front-end users. They may be back-end consumers. They may be working on some other aspect like a security, fraud, cyber security. So they need to start understanding financial aspect of it, because every financial action is making impact on somebody's life, because their funds are being taken away or funds are being put into their account. So it impacts everyday life. So that's something that people need to understand, the impact of fintech on everyday life.
Yeah. Do you have any last words or anything else you would like to share with the audience?
it is a very exciting tech domain, and I would invite as many ideas because this is just starting of tech solutions. There is a lot of scope. I would urge more students to join this fin domain and this moment, I would say, to get into new area of tech. So try to understand, get into the fin, and with the technology at hand, things can happen. I have known people which have built startup with the free tier of AWS. So there is no money, very little money, and you can build your fintech solution because of technology that is available. So join the moment, innovate, and evolve this fintech area.
Yes, thank you, sir, for all the advice you've given us over this past session. We will be moving into more deeper topics in the episodes to come.